Another thing to consider too is what it's like to boat all alone. We all care about weather, right? So I want to find out what the weather is. Count on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There ain't none.
Apparently there is no weather.
There is no weather. We are out of weather range. How to navigate the minefield going back home.
It almost looks like a whale with a fin flipper on the side.
There are tons of icebergs up here.
Oh, I'll go that way.
And several of them are clear, which makes them really hard to see, so you don't want to go very fast.
Well, that was pretty. That was a very big glacier. I like that.
Nice.
That was pretty.
Which glacier was that?
Sawyer
Sawyer Glacier.
Lots of seals.
Sawyer Glacier is right here is where we were. It's South Sawyer, North Sawyer, Tracy Arm. There's our anchorage. And scroll out on the map. There's Juneau and Petersburg. right down there.
Which is where we're going next after we anchor tonight, right?
Correct.
And then the trek home.
Then the trek home.
That was fun.
That was fun.
It is cold outside. What's the temperature? What's our weather report?
Leaving Tracy Arm. Actually, we're in Tracy Arm. We're leaving the Sawyer Glacier. Head back to the anchorage. Dodging icebergs left and right. Port start, I guess I should say. Iceberg, right ahead. All back full. Hard to starboard. But it's iceberg right now. There's a big one too. Shows up on radar.
Oh.
Hi.
My husband.
That's a really big bird. Just saying.
We're gonna just aim for it and see if we can hit it. It looks like it's rammed. We could just go over the top.
Yeah. That's not.
Okay. Probably the wiser choice.
Do a drive-by. That's a really big chunk of ice. Bet you that'll make a mean rum and coke.
For the whole city.
9 miles to the anchorage. Just finishing up Tracy Arm. Gorgeous day going up there. A little overcast whole day. I want to say we probably had some freezing rain right up at Sawyer Glacier.
I would say that was a must-see if you come to Alaska.
I would agree.
Oh, that was beautiful.
It's really tall. Barger Glacier is like really wide. Sawyer Glacier is really tall.
And there are so many waterfalls.
Tons of waterfalls. There's some seals with their pups. We didn't want to get too close to them.
Oh.
Best part is Lemon Drop's heater is working.
It's a warm boat.
I stepped onto her boat. We did a personnel transfer underway so I could get some pictures of channel surfing. I stepped on her boat on the cab like, ooh, nice and toasty in here. She's been having nothing but heater problems on this trip. Started in Ketchikan with the rain. The heater stopped working. She thought she was out of fuel. Turns out she wasn't. And But added fuel to it, didn't fix it, ended up finding water in the fuel, drained the water out at work, lasted a couple days, failed again. More troubleshooting, replaced the fuel filter, started working again. Then it failed a couple days later. Then when it failed, added more fuel. And every time we added fuel to it, we never added more than 3 gallons to a 5-gallon tank. I was actually questioning whether it was a big enough tank or not, but there's a smaller tank. But that's a 5-gallon tank she got on there. So anyway, by the time we got up to Glacier Bay in Blue Mouse Cove, 2 nights on anchor, waiting weather, 47 degrees out, pouring down rain, torrential downpour kind of rain, water everywhere. The windows were all fogged up. You couldn't see out of anything, no matter what you did. Wind was 10 to 15 knots. We were safe at anchor, but you couldn't go anywhere. And really cold, wet, soggy. Her heater stopped working the first night there. She spent 2 nights in the cold up there. We're up on Starlink on Friday, 3:30 in the afternoon, calling around to find out where we could get parts. And it's not even where to get parts, where to mail them to. I'm going to mail them somewhere I can get them. But we got all that worked out, and we pulled into Juneau several days later and had a refurbished Webasto Airtop STC 2000 waiting for us. It took me about a day to swap that out. Still didn't work right when I swapped it out. Went and checked again, more water in the fuel. I have no idea how the water's going to fuel. It has to come in from the cap on the outside of the boat. The vent and the fill is all right there. So flushed all the water and stuff out of it, and now she's back in business making heat. Otherwise, today would have been really miserable for us because it's really cold up here. But a trip like this, you've got to be prepared. You got to have tools. You got to know how to fix your own boat. Stuff like that's going to happen. Channel surfing, Johnstone Straits, we had water going over the whole boat, and it shorted out my solar controller. We could smell it smoldering. We didn't know what it was at the time. So ended up getting a replacement for that and swapped that out in Prince Rupert when it failed in Johnstone Straits. We went several days without a solar controller. And then Ketchikan, we pull in and our toilet wouldn't flush. It was like really slow to flush. The air vent was clogged. That was a day turn everything apart, get to the air vent to find what was clogging it. Clear the obstruction. So we had a fair amount of boat stuff go wrong on us that had to be fixed during this trip. It's like pretty waterfall over there.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing thing about this is this Tracy Arm inlet. It's like half a mile, 3/4 mile wide. In the center, it's like 1,000 foot. It's a little over 1,000 foot deep. You look at these hillsides, how steep they are coming straight down. It just goes all the way down 1,000 feet on the water. It just the land just continues straight on down the valley. That's a big waterfall right there.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging with autopilot up here because you're dodging icebergs, and even the little icebergs, you don't want to hit the little icebergs. When they say the tip of the iceberg's above water, they are not kidding. So it's like, don't even risk it. We've hit a couple all by accident, and the sound is horrible.
Well, some of them look see-through. It's really hard to see them because it's a gray day today, so it just blends in more.
Well, and they've lost their white. They're white or their blue shade that turn translucent. So, going 2-3 knots, you'll see them, 30, 40 yards in front of the boat, maybe. But you gotta have enough reaction time to miss them. Another thing to consider too is what it's like to boat all alone. So we all care about weather, right? So I want to find out what the weather is. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There ain't none.
Apparently there is no weather.
There is no weather. We are out of weather range. Okay. So no VHF weather. Obviously no cell phones. Even with my 5G antenna and stuff, the land blocks all access to any cell phone tower. There's no line of sight to any of that. Starlink works and InReach works. The only 2 things we've had to work up here. the GXM54 weather antenna, it actually works here in Tracy Arm. It did not work up in Glacier Bay, and actually Sirius XM radio for music, which is what XM weather comes in, the same thing, worked not all that great. It cut out all the time. The mountains around here are just too steep and too tall. They just blocks the line of sight to wherever the satellites are. So really, when it comes to weather and stuff, you need to be in a spot a day or two before to be able to get to it, or in my case, I just bring Starlink out. I can't leave Starlink out all the time because how much power it draws, but I can run it for several hours while we're using it. And I've had really good success with Starlink to get online, get my weather report. I look at windy and stuff, but yeah, being up here all alone, anything happens, there's nobody really to call. Glacier Bay, the park ranger said if you hear a mayday and nobody responds, relay the mayday message and act as a repeater. You know, that really hits home when you think about that. So you got to be extra cautious when you're up here. It's nice to have a buddy boat, right? Kind of stuff. The InReach has an SOS button on it. I could push, and hopefully that would result in a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter. AIS, I would say, I would say AIS is mandatory to have it up here.
Oh, yeah.
Up here.
Yeah.
I mean, technically you can do the trip without it, but what is the value of AIS? First off, it's going to show you what boats are around, because radar is line of sight, so it won't see around corners. You may not know a boat's there. AIS will. And the effective range on it, what I'm seeing is between 7 and 10 nautical miles, which is about the same range as what VHF radios, at least on my boat, can range. You know, being able to look at other targets in the area in AIS, you can see what their speed is. So if everybody's doing like 7 knots, we saw this a lot in Glacier Bay. People are doing 7 knots, now they're doing 2 knots. Like, oh, there's something there interesting to look like. Could be a bear on shore, could be whales, something of that nature. All the commercial craft, the tour boats and stuff, they all run AIS. So I was able to look at what routes that they were taking, you know, up through Glacier Bay, which they know where the whales are, they know where the wildlife is and stuff, so just follow their tracks. That was actually some good intel. That's how we ran into the whales bubble feeding, watching them on AIS. But I tell you, when the weather was bad up in Glacier Bay, there was nobody on AIS. So I pulled up AIS on my Vesper 8000, and I had one contact, lemon drop. She was anchored next to us. That's it. There was nobody else around, period. They only let 25 boats into Glacier Bay a day. 2 of those are cruise ships, and the cruise ships will go into Glacier Bay all the way up to Marguerite Glacier. It's 62 miles one way to Marguerite Glacier. The only fuel dock is Bartlett Cove at the bottom. So you're talking 130 miles round trip to get up there and back. With your VHF and all that as an effective range of about 10 miles. Think of it like that, right? So got to manage your fuel, manage the weather. To do that, the cruise ships will go all the way from the bottom to the top from Margaret Glacier. They'll spend an hour up there for their photo op for their passengers. They'll turn around and they'll leave the park. And that leaves you 23 other boats. So call it 22 other boats and you is all that's in Glacier Bay. So if you had a problem and needed to VHF call for help or whatever, there's only 22 other people potentially to listen. And I wouldn't count on that. InReach, I'll tell you, has been really useful on this trip. Initially, I got it just for letting all you guys track us on the trip, let my mom know where we're at on the trip. So she could log in and see us anytime, you know, kind of stuff. Thought it'd be kind of fun, but actually, in areas like this is the only way to communicate. So without Starlink, have a friend at home that can send you weather reports, and you can do text messaging on InReach, and it's pretty quick on the turnaround. It's a 160 character limit per message, but it is extremely useful. Anytime's actually up here, so we're not traveling together, but we're kind of in the neighborhood. We met him up at Juneau, had dinner with him on the dock there, but no, anytime in us, we message on InReach almost every day, back and forth. You know, where you at? What are you doing? You know, so it's that's been a very useful tool. So managing fuel on the trip. You know, if we're cruising on a plane, we're going to get 1.2 miles per gallon. If we want to extend our range, instead of, you know, bad seas, we'll get 1 mile per gallon. Normal underway, I would expect to get 1.2. Why so bad? We're loaded to live on the boat for 6 weeks. So I got 3 adults, and 3 dogs, and gear, and spare parts and tools. We're just heavy, you know, so it just burns more fuel that way. When we hit the fuel dock, Lemon Drop puts in 10 or 15 gallons of gas less than we do because it's just her, right? So weight's a big thing. But anyway, the fuel stops are about 100 miles apart roughly. So to extend the range, like going to Tracy Arm, we have to do 7 knots, 7-8 knots, almost 10 miles an hour, and I can get anywhere from 2 to 3.5 miles per hour. Right now I'm getting 3.6 miles per gallon. That's just the wind's helping me out. Going the other direction, I was getting 2 miles per gallon going up to the glacier. But managing fuel is pretty important because we're going to get back to our anchorage. We're 8 miles away from that. And then I got 70 miles tomorrow to get from Tracy Arm, Entrance Cove, Anchorage back to Petersburg. And that's about 70 miles, and I'll have about 90 gallons of gas. So I'm going to have to slow boat that quite a bit to conserve some fuel to get there. So it'll just take a lot longer. But it's nice knowing if I go slow, I can really extend the range quite a bit. It's a 150 gallon gas tank, and I like to do the 1/3 to get there, 1/3 to get back, and 1/3 reserve. Obviously up here we're just going between, we're going large sections of water. So I still like to hit the fuel dock with about 50 gallons left in the tank. Because you never know when you're going to get bad seas and just burn through fuel fast. That's an InReach message coming in. So engine maintenance, just routine maintenance underway. So that blew by 120 hours a day or two ago. So we were in Juneau for 4 days, 5 days we spent in Juneau waiting on parts to replace the Webasto and Lemon Drop. So I went and did an oil change on Chelmsford. So to pull the boat out of the water, all the places have tidal grids. Tidal grids are really cool. It's basically a place you pull your boat up next to, and then as the tide goes out, it sits on these planks, and then you do whatever work you need with the boat out of the water, and then the tide comes back in. The boat floats, you drive it away. So we've seen tidal grids in literally every port we've gone into. Puna had them, Juneau, Ketchikan, Petersburg, all have tidal grids. Juneau's a really long tidal grid over at Harris Harbor. Got lots of boats over there. You know, the tides up here are 20 to 25 foot swings in a day, right? Which makes that a really inexpensive haul out. However, I didn't use a tidal grid, I considered it. So with the outboards, you can change the oil filter, the fuel filters, both of them, the one in the cockpit and on the engine. You can do all that with the boat in the water. I bought a little vacuum pump, a little hand-operated vacuum pump, just to suck the oil out through the dipstick and replace the oil. The lower unit, to replace the lower gear oil, and in order to do any work to the water pump, take the lower unit off, you have to have the boat out of the water, which means I'd have to use a tidal grid up here. Wrangell's got a haul out. Harris had one in Juneau, I remember. I don't think Petersburg had any other way of a haul out. I mean, they all have tidal grids they expect to use. But burning through the hours, or when you slow boat, you put on the hours really quick. But then the engine's not working really as hard either. So
these engines like to be worked hard.
They like to be worked hard. They run a lot of ring free in the engines. That way they help keep carbon buildup and stuff when they're running at slow speeds, doing 7 knots for 10 hours. That's pretty much what today is.
Yeah.
10, 11 hours to 7 knots.
Look at that corgi over there. She could sleep anywhere. Through a tornado, through an earthquake, typhoon.
She's deaf, so she can't really hear much.
So she sleeps.
Probably don't know she's deaf. She probably just thinks we all stop talking to her.
Maybe that's why she barks so much. She's like, come on, people, talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm the corgi.
Hoping this overcast was going to lift today, but it didn't.
The sun briefly came. A
Yeah.
little bit.
But at least it's not foggy.
Oh.
We've had flat seas all day. So
It's
that's
warmer
good.
than it was when we were up at the glacier.
Yeah, it definitely been warmer away from the glacier. It's chilly up there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of little icebergs to dodge. A lot of icebergs.
If you enjoyed watching this video, click the screen to watch another.